All right, thanks, guys. We once again improved to 3-0 in our last three daily best play tier package picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And that's a website that I operate that gives you premium daily sports picks beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. That's also going to improve our record to 5-1 straight up in our last six in that same category as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a sec. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a look at some Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to start with Sergey Koosman squaring off against Ivan Pander, 5:30 p.m. Eastern start time. Pander's really struggled as of late, losing 7 out of his last 8 matches, including a shutout loss to the hands of Sergey Koosman during that stretch. Ivan's also lost to the likes of Andrei Babkin, Vlad Zulubien, and Andrei Sadkov during that stretch. Even worse, Ivan's failed to win at least 2 sets during a match in 6 out of those 7 losses. He's getting absolutely dominated as of late. Meanwhile, Koosman on the other side, a little bit different story for him as he's won 5 out of his last 6, including once again a blowout victory at the expense of Ivan Pander during that span. Koosman's also beaten the likes of Zulubien, Babkin, and Sadkov during that span of victories. Sergey's also posted a record of 6-2 straight up in his last 8, while also going 2-0 straight up in his last 2 head-to-head meetings with Pander. Doesn't look like a real good spot for those backing Ivan Pander here. Give me Sergey Koosman winning this one straight up in convincing fashion. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Tuesday's Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. Happy Tuesday to you. Hopefully you're having a good start to your week. Now before we go ahead and move on with the program, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where once again we improved yesterday to 3-0 in our last 3 daily best play tier membership plays on that website. We're also 5-1 straight up in our last 6 daily best plays as well. Very good package for us right now. Very affordable package for us as well. It's our most affordable package. We do daily premium sports picks on that website beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We also have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. Currently, we have well over 675 members signed up and active on that page. Now, you might be wondering, why would all those folks sign up to receive Patreon picks, where they can get them for they can get all those picks here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great point, a great concern. But there is a big problem with me handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the problem is this: if you were going to go ahead and bet every single game on the board that I put out here on YouTube, side and total, you're certainly guaranteeing yourself failure. And I know that sounds crazy, but just hear me out. If you're going to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the slate with your hard-earned money, side and total, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's downright a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. They have a whole lot more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that kind of action. Most important, the math becomes aggressively against you the more and more games you play like that. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game that's on the slate, side and total. And the good news is this: if you want to go ahead and check out my current Patreon record, you have access to it right now. You can actually go ahead and do that for free right now. My current Patreon record is located right on the homepage. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. And once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into some more free lines and personal leans. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Lulicky facing off against Oleg Nikiforov in a 6 p.m. showdown. Oleg's played some really good table tennis as of late, winning 3 out of his last 4 matches, including a 3-0 drubbing of Vitaly Vasilevsky in his last outing. Oleg also defeated the likes of Lulicky during that span of victories. Oleg's 2-1 straight up in his last 3 head-to-head meetings with Lulicky. Oleg's also gone a very impressive 6-2 straight up in his last 8 matches, including another shutout 3-0, this time at the hands of Viktor Ivanov during that span. Now Lulicky on the other side, he's dropped 2 out of his last 3, including a humiliating 3-0 loss at the hands of Reutimin Marudinen during that span. He's also dropped 3 out of his last 6 matches as well. This should be a pretty competitive matchup here, but I have to give the slight edge to Nikiforov in this spot here. Give me Oleg Nikiforov winning this one straight up in a very competitive matchup. Next contest, it is going to be Ivan Pander squaring off against Andrei Babkin, 6 p.m. showdown. Now both of these men not really playing at a high level at the moment, although Babkin did garner himself a couple marquee wins over the likes of Ivan Pander within his last handful of contests. Matter of fact, Babkin has gone 3-1 straight up in his last 4 head-to-head meetings with Pander, with all victories coming in convincing fashion by the score of 3-1. Now, Ivan Pander on the other side, really struggling as of late, losing 7 out of his last 8 matches, including a shutout loss to the hands of Sergei Koosman during that stretch. Ivan's also lost to the likes of Andrei Babkin, Vlad Zulubien, and Andrei Sadkov during that span of losses. Even worse, Ivan's failed to win at least 2 sets during a match in 6 out of those 7 losses, getting absolutely decimated as of late. Doesn't look like too appetizing of a spot for Ivan Pander here. Give me Andrei Babkin winning this one outright in a close one. All right, next contest I have for you, it is going to be Vlad Shurakov taking on Georgy Vladimirovich Vaknin, and that's going to be a 6 p.m. Eastern start time. Now, Georgy's playing some really, really bad table tennis as of late, losing his last 4 straight matches. Even worse, Georgy was shut out in 2 out of those 4 losses, 3-0, by the likes of Shurakov and Petrov. Georgy's also struggled against Shurakov in recent meetings, dropping 2 out of their last 3 head-to-head contests, including a 3-0 blowout loss in one of those gatherings. Meanwhile, Shurakov on the other side, winner of 3 out of his last 4 matches, including a 3-0 drubbing of Georgy Vaknin during that stretch. Vlad has also beat Petrov twice and Krokin once during that span. 2 out of Shurakov's last 3 victories came by way of dominating shutouts. Vlad's also won 5 out of his last 8 contests as well. Looks like a pretty good spot for Shurakov here. Give me Vlad Shurakov getting the job done for some moneyline cash. All right, next contest, it is going to be Danny Andreev facing off against Vad Krokin, 6:30 p.m. Eastern start time. Now, Krokin's playing really well recently with his current 3-match win streak. He took care of Vaknin twice and Petrov once during that stretch. Vlad's also 4-2 straight up in his last 6, including a gritty 3-2 victory over Danny Andreev during that span as well. Looks like a pretty good spot for Krokin backers here, although it won't be easy. Should be competitive, so give me Vad Krokin winning this one straight up in a competitive matchup. Next contest, it is going to be Vyacheslav Emelin versus Artem Arudinin, 6:30 p.m. start time. Artie's the $1.50 favorite. Slava's plus $1.10. And if you like Slava Emelin in this spot here, just keep in mind he dropped 3 out of his last 4 matches, including embarrassing 3-0 defeats at the hands of Haik Lulicky and Viktor Ivanov. In addition to being shut out in 2 out of his last 3 defeats, he's been victorious in just 2 out of his last 7 matches, including another bleak loss to the likes of Artie Arudinin, 3-1. And speaking of Arudinin, he's won his last 3 straight matches himself, including a dominant victory over Haik Lulicky in 3-0. Our team's also been victorious in 5 out of his last 7 matches, including a solid 3-2 victory over the likes of Viktor Ivanov during that span as well. Looks like a pretty good spot for Artie here. I'm going to go ahead and lean Artem Arudinin, winning this one straight up in a hard-fought victory. All right, next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Vlad Zulubien squaring off against Sergei Koosman in a 6:30 p.m. showdown. This is hands down the best matchup on the card, at least on paper, as both men are playing at an extremely high level right now. Now, while Koosman's been victorious in 7 out of his last 8, he was dominated in his last outing 3-1. And it just so happens that his opponent was, you guessed it, Vlad Zulubien, who himself 7-1 straight up in his last 8. Now, Vlad's beaten the likes of Pander, Babkin, and Shurakov, including a 3-0 dismantling of Ivan Pander during that stretch. This should be a tight, competitive matchup, but I'm going to go ahead and give the it's this close, the very slight edge to Vlad Zulubien to get the job done here. Give me Vlad Zulubien winning this one outright in an extremely close matchup. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. Shout out to Joseph Moylan, Brandon Saunders, Bill McMahon, Tanner Ivy, Kyle McGrath, Ryan Mass, Jesus Karakamunda, William Peterson. Also want to give a shout-out to Ravi RK, Naeem Kuchoser, Mike Willoughby, Stephen Lewis. Also got to give a shout-out to John Luis Lugo, Judy Wangui, Jose Orellana, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout-out to my man, who is that? Mark Beauchamp. All right, guys, that's going to, do it for me here. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.